Maybe you told yourself that you'd hit the gym after work, that you'd spend less time on your phone, or even that you cook something healthy for yourself instead of ordering takeout. But it didn't happen again because it just felt impossible. And then comes this guilt spiral, the self-talk about being lazy, feeling undisciplined, or being a chronic procrastinator. And the truth is, you're not lazy, you're drained, probably burnt out even. You're doing too much, handling too many responsibilities, and under too much pressure to reinvent yourself and make that change happen. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how to get out of that loop and rebuild energy through 5 actionable steps. If you feel stuck, if you feel like you can't fulfill on your promises and you can't engage in the actions you said you'd engage in, there's a trap you've probably fallen into. It's the trap of thinking that more discipline is going to save you and get you out of that situation. Now, discipline is great. Don't get me mistaken. Discipline is the first thing that I think everyone should focus on. But sometimes, and that's the case right now, if you're watching this, it has its limits and you just can't go past a certain point with discipline. And there's this cultural narrative like in society and especially online in the self-help community that maximum performance, productivity is the greatest thing on earth, and that exhaustion is, just the byproduct of doing great stuff. We treat rest as a weakness, being this thing that we don't want to engage in unless we're not capable of achieving great things anymore, which is on a biological and on a psychological level the best recipe you can find for a burnout. And I've come to realize that most people don't fail because they don't know what to do or because they're lazy. They fail mostly because they're trying to build new habits, a new reality for themselves on top of a burnt out state, which is aggravated sometimes. The big problem coming off of that is you have in your life right now energy leaks. You're hemorrhaging energy during the day constantly. And there's this metaphor I use with my clients. I call it the brain points system. So you have these brain points and you start the day with 100 of them. And then every time you engage in a specific action, you give away some of those points. They kind of like those energy that cost you a certain amount of it. So like, for example, work commute can be like 10 points. Work meeting can be 20 points. Problem in a relationship, in a close relationship, you have 30 points. Usually it's the biggest one. An hour of Instagram or scrolling, 15 points. And then you kind of deduct every activity you've engaged in. And you end up with, some people end up with 0 at like lunchtime. And so they're in a deficit of brain points, meaning that they can't engage in anything meaningful anymore. And they can't possibly build sustainable and healthy habits or make the change that they want in their lives. This is the reason why you feel like you can't work out after work. You feel like after an hour of scrolling, your brain is just fried and you can't engage in anything that's, actively challenging. It's not a motivation problem per se. It's a resource problem. And as long as you're not allocating resources properly for your goals to become your very reality, it will not happen. And again, this is not because of laziness. This is not because you're undisciplined. It is because you just simply don't have the resources necessary to make that change your reality. And as long as you have these energy leaks in your life, as long as you're not in control of your mental and physical energy, it won't matter how determined and disciplined you become. You just won't have the capacity to change. The first step is to recharge, because remember we talked about how we glorify exhaustion and performance and productivity, and how we kind of leave aside rest as this, useless thing that we don't want to engage in unless we're literally dying. Again, the problem is not motivation. The problem is exhaustion. You don't have enough energy. So what it means is that first thing you want to do is you want to recharge your energy. You can't rebuild yourself on an empty tank. You can't create new habits. You can't engage in anything that's meaningful if you're constantly exhausted and drained. So for a while, what you're going to do, it can be a few days, can be a week, whatever you decide. You're going to do less. You're going to try and engage in less stuff. You move slower, you sleep a little more, maybe you talk a little less fast, whatever it is, you need to realign your mind and body so that they don't expend energy all the time, and that they find kind of bits of recharge time. You have these little moments of rest during the day. What will happen is you'll slowly start to get some energy back. And there's a big issue with that. If you're high performance, which I've come to see in my clients, you will think that you can use this energy to then overhaul your life. That's how you burn yourself out again. So don't do that. Recharge first and then leave this energy aside just for a little bit. You don't need to use all your energy every day. Feeling sluggish at first is going to be normal because you've been running on stress and adrenaline. And now that your body is finally resting, you're going to be in contact with a slowed state. So you need to think of yourself as a drained battery. If there's anything that's applicable to batteries, is that you can't use it if it's empty. You need to let it charge. You need to leave it aside. And when it's full again, you can use it. The second step you're going to engage in is you're going to create more breathing space. Because now that you've regained a little bit of energy, you will not, and you should not, rush back into full capacity. With high achievers, the problem is that they're going to want to operate at 100% all the time. But no biological system can sustain that for a long time without burning out. So instead of giving your very 100% every day, you're going to start aiming at 80% effort instead. Because this is going to be sustainable. And those 20% that you're not going to use every day are going to be breathing space for you to recover and for you to be adaptable. But when it's a normal day and you've expended your 80% capacity, then you stop so that you're not at 0% at the end of the day, because that's the dangerous zone. That's the situation in which you don't want to be in when you're making bad decisions and when you're not proud of your lifestyle. This is the difference between just surviving every day and living, because when you have energy at the end of the day still, you're still able to think, you're still able to make good decisions. This is when you feel like you're living. And that makes everything easier because you're more able to handle stress, unexpected problems, life, relationships. You need to remember that consistency, even if it's not at your 100%, beats intensity over time. Intensity is good in the short term. Consistency is better in the long run. So step 3 is that you're going to return to the basics. When we're stuck, we tend to fall for this idea that we need advanced strategies, we need hacks, we need optimization. We need to be reminded in this situation that what actually works is the fundamentals, and this never changes. Sleep, nutrition, movement, recovery, they're simple and everyone pretty much know about them, but they're non-negotiable. And this is the real deal that's going to get you to the result that you want. The problem isn't that you're not aware of this. You probably are. The problem is that you've kind of drifted away from applying them and from installing those habits into your life. Because whenever we go down, then the first thing that comes out of our lives is the healthy habits that we're trying to put in place, because we tend to fall for the comfort and the old patterns that we include back into our lifestyles. Something super useful to remember is that learning is not a one-time event. Learning is its maintenance. Learning is something that we constantly have to aspire for. So revisit the basics regularly. When it comes to sleep, when it comes to nutrition, when it comes to training, make sure that you're applying progressive overloading in your training. Make sure that you're treating your sleep with respect and that you have good sleep hygiene. Make sure that your nutrition is on point, that your hydration is proper, because small drifts will happen. But over time, if you don't control for them, it will become big detours. And that's when you lose yourself. That's when you get stuck. So start with one area. If you're lost right now, start with usually sleep or exercise, I would say, and rebuild consistency there before adding anything more, before talking about results. Next step is that you need to find your own rhythm. We're not built the same. We don't have the same energy levels. We don't have the same stress tolerance. Or speed for recovery is different. So comparing yourself to other people is meaningless, honestly, or at the very least not useful, because you don't see what's happening behind the scenes. You don't get to experience their mental states. You don't get to see what they truly do when they come back home. Your job is to find your own way to make your system work. You need to recalibrate your internal system. You need to find how much work you can daily handle without negative side effects, how many workouts you can handle in a week without being drained, and being able to recover properly. And this rhythm that you will start to kind of discover will become your new baseline for sustainable performance. Optimal doesn't mean perfect. Optimal means being able to do it most of the time without having any big side effect coming out of it. So this is the very first thing that I do with my clients. We work on a structure so that it's coherent with the lifestyle that you have, with the work hours, whether you have kids, where you're going to class, whatever it is, it needs to take into account everything that you have going on in your life right now and everything that you want to make space for. And then you kind of like find this flow of like, okay, I'm able to work 3 times per week, work out 3 times per week, and this is no problem. I'm able to meal prep every third day, whatever it is. The goal again is not maximum effort. You don't want to give your 100% every day. It's steady energy, because when you have steady energy, then you can choose how you're allocating that energy. You can distribute it properly. And then it becomes way smoother when it comes to long-term balance and lifestyle. You want to detach yourself from seeing big changes. You want to instead focus on small wins. Real change in life is not transformational in the sense that it doesn't feel dramatically different. Whenever you're getting in shape, it's not like it happens overnight. You're not feeling completely different one day compared to the other. It's subtle, it's repetitive, it's boring, it's the fundamentals, but ultimately this is the small boring stuff that's going to get you where you want to go. And this is also the same stuff that's going to rebuild your energy. And each of those micro when it comes to eating, when it comes to showing up to the gym, even if you're tired, tells your brain that you're on your way. You probably don't have the results that you were hoping for yet, but you're on your way to it, and you know that this is the right path because you're engaging in the right actions. They're supposed to lead you where you want to go. The biggest enemy when it comes to that is your ego, which wants a massive breakthrough, wants the complete different lifestyle transformation, the total package. But your well-being and yourself, you need slow, you need steady, kind of constant progress, but at this very slow pace so that you can handle it and sustain it for hopefully a lifetime. So let go of instant gratification, let go of this idea that you need to have the physique that you saw on Instagram, because this is not how it works. Focus on what is sustainable, what you can fulfill right now. Well, let me know what you thought about this video. For those who are interested in one-on-one coaching, there's a link below for a form which you can fill in, and I'm gonna get back to you. In the meantime, just trust the process. I hope this helps.